Modern warfare is dominated by the front line, the continuous belt of trenches, bunkers, minefields, and fighting positions that stretches across eastern Ukraine like a scar on the earth. Both sides have invested enormous resources in fortifying and defending this line, and the daily fighting that takes place along it consumes lives, ammunition, and equipment at industrial scale. But behind the front line, in the rear areas where Russian headquarters coordinate operations, where supply convoys deliver ammunition and fuel, where soldiers rest between rotations, and where the logistics infrastructure that keeps the entire war machine running is concentrated, life operates at a different tempo. Rear area soldiers feel safer. They move more openly. They drive with headlights on. They park vehicles without camouflage. They hold briefings in buildings without blast protection. The front is dangerous. The rear is not. This assumption that the rear area is safe is one of the most dangerous beliefs a military can hold. And days ago, on the Eastern Front, Ukrainian forces shattered it completely. 3 Ukrainian Kozak-2M armored vehicles, each carrying a crew of 2 and a dismount team of 4 assault troops, penetrated the Russian front line through a gap that Ukrainian intelligence had identified and monitored for weeks. The vehicles drove 12 kilometers into the Russian rear area under cover of darkness. Over the next 3 hours, they executed a series of lightning strikes against 3 separate targets: a supply convoy, a battalion field headquarters, and a logistics bridge. They destroyed all 3. Then they drove back through the same gap and returned to Ukrainian lines before the first gray light of dawn touched the horizon. Total Ukrainian casualties, 0. The Russians discovered what had happened when the sun came up. By then, the wolves were already home. The Kozak. The Kozak-2M is a Ukrainian-designed and Ukrainian-manufactured armored vehicle, a 4-wheeled machine built by the Ukrainian defense company Praktika specifically for the needs of the Ukrainian military. It weighs approximately 14 tons, carries a crew of 3 plus 7 passengers, is protected by composite armor that defeats small arms fire and shell fragments, and is powered by a diesel engine that gives it a road speed of over 100 kilometers per hour, and, critically for this operation, a cross-country speed of approximately 60 kilometers per hour, even on the soft, muddy terrain of a Ukrainian spring. The Kozak is not a tank. It is not designed for direct confrontation with heavy armor or for assault against fortified positions. It is designed for exactly what it was used for in this operation: rapid movement, surprise attack, and fast withdrawal. Its relatively lightweight means it can traverse ground that would trap a 50-ton tank, including the muddy fields and soft dirt roads of the late February thaw that has turned much of eastern Ukraine's terrain into a quagmire. Its speed means it can cover distance faster than Russian reaction forces can mobilize. Its Ukrainian origin means that every vehicle destroyed can be replaced by Ukrainian factories rather than dependent on foreign supply chains. The 3 Kozaks selected for this mission were equipped with additional modifications: night vision driving systems that allowed the drivers to navigate in total darkness without headlights, suppressed weapon mounts that reduced the sound and flash signature of the vehicle's machine guns, additional fuel tanks that extended the vehicle's range to cover the round trip without refueling, and communication equipment that linked the 3 vehicles to each other and to a Ukrainian command post that would monitor the mission in real time through overhead drone surveillance. The gap. Every front line has weak points. Across 1,000 kilometers of contact, there are stretches where geography, forced deployment, or simple neglect creates gaps. Sections where the continuous belt of trenches and positions thins out, where minefields have not been laid, where observation is limited, and where a small, fast force can pass through without being detected. Ukrainian intelligence units dedicate significant resources to identifying these gaps on the Russian side of the line, monitoring patrol patterns, mapping observation post coverage, tracking the deployment and rotation of Russian units, assessing terrain conditions that might create temporary opportunities for penetration. The gap selected for this operation was a section of approximately 800 meters, where the Russian defensive line ran through a low-lying, marshy area that both sides had considered impassable for vehicles. Russian forces had positioned observation posts on the higher ground to either side, but had not fortified the marshy ground itself, reasoning that the soft terrain would prevent any vehicular movement. In summer, they would have been right. But in late February, the marshy ground had undergone a particular transformation. The surface layer had thawed enough to become soft mud. But approximately 30 centimeters below the surface, the deeper soil remained partially frozen, creating a layer of firm ground beneath a thin coating of mud that could support the Kozak's 14-ton weight if the vehicles moved quickly enough to avoid sinking. Ukrainian reconnaissance teams, soldiers who had physically crawled through the gap on multiple occasions to verify the ground conditions, confirmed that the Cossacks could traverse it. They marked a route through the marsh using small, low-visibility infrared markers that the Kozak drivers' night vision systems could detect, but that were invisible to the naked eye. The route wound between the deepest mud patches and the softest ground, following a path that the reconnaissance teams had tested step by step, probe by probe, over several nights of careful exploration. The penetration. The three Cossacks departed a concealed staging area at approximately 22 Unshan, on a night that was ideal for the operation. Overcast sky, no moon, temperatures at 1 degree Celsius, intermittent drizzle that reduced visibility and masked the sound of engines. The vehicles moved in column with 50-meter spacing, their headlights off, their drivers navigating through night vision displays that showed the terrain in shades of green and white. They reached the gap at approximately 22:30. The lead Kozak entered the marshy ground at 25 kilometers per hour. Fast enough to maintain momentum, slow enough to follow the infrared-marked route. The vehicle's wheels sank into the surface mud, but found traction on the frozen subsurface layer. Mud sprayed from the wheel wells as the 14-ton vehicle pushed through the soft ground. The second and third Cossacks followed, each slightly offset from the tracks of the vehicle ahead to avoid deepening the ruts. The crossing took approximately 4 minutes. The Cossacks emerged on the Russian side of the line approximately 600 meters from the nearest Russian observation post, close enough that the sound of their engines might have been audible to an alert sentry, but the drizzle, the wind, and the ambient noise of the front masked their passage. No alarm was raised, no flare was fired. The three vehicles turned southeast and accelerated onto a dirt road that led into the Russian rear area. They were behind enemy lines. The hunt had begun. Target 1, the supply convoy. At approximately 23:15, the lead Cossacks' reconnaissance equipment detected the thermal signatures of vehicles ahead on the road. 4 trucks moving in convoy approximately 2 kilometers away, heading toward the front with headlights on. The mission commander, a captain with extensive special operations experience, halted the column in a tree line beside the road and assessed the situation through his night vision binoculars. 4 Ural cargo trucks, each loaded with supplies, the shapes of stacked crates and fuel containers visible under the canvas covers. 2 soldiers in the cab of each truck. No escort vehicles, no armored support. The convoy was moving at approximately 40 kilometers per hour on a road that the drivers clearly considered safe. The captain positioned his 3 Cossacks in an L-shaped ambush. 2 vehicles parallel to the road, 1 perpendicular at the far end to block the convoy's forward movement. The ambush site was a straight section of road bordered by trees on one side and a shallow drainage ditch on the other. Terrain that offered the convoy no room to maneuver or escape. When the lead truck reached the kill zone, all 3 Cossacks opened fire simultaneously. The vehicle-mounted machine guns, firing 12.7mm rounds capable of penetrating the truck's unarmored cabs and cargo areas, raked the convoy from 2 directions. The lead truck's windshield shattered. The cab disintegrated under the concentrated fire. The truck veered off the road and crashed into the drainage ditch. The second truck slammed on its brakes and was hit broadside by sustained bursts that shredded its tires, punctured its fuel tank, and killed the driver. The third truck attempted to reverse, the driver cranking the wheel in a desperate attempt to escape the kill zone. But the rear Cossacks gunner found the engine block with a burst that disabled the vehicle. The fourth truck, its driver panicking, drove off the road into the muddy field and became stuck instantly, its wheels sinking into the soft spring earth, the engine screaming as the tires spun uselessly. Dismounted assault troops from the Cossacks moved through the convoy, confirming that resistance had ceased and assessing the cargo. The trucks had been carrying 152mm artillery shells, 82mm mortar rounds, crates of small arms ammunition, fuel in jerry cans, and food supplies. The assault team placed thermite charges on each truck's cargo, incendiary devices that would burn at over 2,000 degrees Celsius, destroying the ammunition and supplies beyond any possibility of recovery. The charges were set with 15-minute timers. Total time from first shot to departure, 8 minutes. 8 Russian soldiers killed, 4 trucks and their cargo, valued at approximately $800,000, the $1.5 million in vehicles, and $2 to $4 million in ammunition and supplies, marked for destruction. The Cossacks remounted their assault teams and moved southeast toward Target 2. Target 2, the battalion headquarters. Ukrainian intelligence had identified a Russian battalion field headquarters approximately 3 kilometers from the convoy ambush site. A cluster of buildings in a farmstead that served as the coordination center for Russian operations in the subsector. The headquarters was manned by an estimated 20 to 30 staff officers, communications specialists, and security personnel. Its location had been confirmed through signals intelligence. The building's communications emissions matched the signatures of a battalion-level command node, and through drone reconnaissance that had photographed staff vehicles and antenna equipment at the site. The Cossacks approached the farmstead from the south at approximately 23:45, using a farm track that avoided the main road and its potential checkpoints. The assault was planned as a dismounted operation. The Cossacks would provide fire support from covered positions while the 18-man assault force attacked the headquarters on foot. The assault began at 23:52. The first indication the Russian headquarters staff received was the sound of RPG-7 rockets impacting the building's walls. 2 rounds fired simultaneously from positions approximately 80 meters away. The rockets blasted through the walls of the main building, detonating inside the briefing room and the communication center. The building's windows blew out. Dust and smoke poured through the openings. Inside, officers who had been working at their stations, some sleeping in adjacent rooms, some reviewing maps, some monitoring radios, were thrown from their chairs by the blast. The assault team moved forward immediately, advancing in fire teams through the farmstead's courtyard under covering fire from the Cossacks' machine guns, which suppressed the security positions around the perimeter. The security detail, approximately 8 soldiers manning fighting positions around the headquarters, returned fire sporadically but were overwhelmed within minutes by the coordinated assault. Some fled into the darkness. Others were killed in their positions. The assault teams entered the damaged building through breached walls and blown-out windows. The fighting inside was brief and violent. Room-to-room clearance with grenades and automatic weapons in confined, smoke-filled spaces that smelled of explosive residue and burning insulation. Russian officers who attempted to resist were engaged at close range. Those who surrendered, 5 men, including a major who identified himself as the battalion's deputy operations officer, were flex-cuffed, blindfolded, and led to the Cossacks. Ukrainian soldiers quickly collected documents, laptops, encrypted radio equipment, and tactical maps from the headquarters. Intelligence materials that would provide Ukrainian analysts with detailed information about Russian force dispositions, planned operations, and communications procedures in the sector. The collection took approximately 6 minutes, the assault team working with practiced speed, stuffing documents into prepared bags while a security team held the perimeter. Demolition charges, pre-prepared blocks of plastic explosive, were placed on the remaining communications equipment, the building's generator, and the 3 vehicles in the courtyard that the assault team did not have time to search. The charges were set with 10-minute timers. Total time from first RPG round to departure, 17 minutes. Estimated 8 to 12 Russian soldiers killed, 5 to 8 wounded, 5 captured, including the major. 1 battalion headquarters destroyed with its communications equipment, planning documents, and coordination capability, rendering the Russian battalion effectively leaderless until a replacement command structure could be established. Estimated value of the headquarters and its equipment, $3 to $5 million. Intelligence value of the captured documents and prisoners, incalculable. The Cossacks, now carrying 5 blindfolded Russian prisoners, in addition to their assault teams, moved northwest toward the final target. Target 3, the bridge. The third target was a concrete bridge over a drainage canal approximately 4 kilometers from the destroyed headquarters. A small but critical structure that carried the only paved road capable of supporting heavy vehicle traffic in the subsector. All supply convoys, reinforcement columns, and logistics vehicles serving the Russian frontline units in this area use this bridge. Destroying it would force all traffic onto unpaved detour routes that the spring mud had made nearly impassable, effectively severing the logistics artery for the sector. The Cossacks reached the bridge at approximately Mach 0:30. The structure was unguarded, a reflection of the rear area complacency that this entire operation was designed to exploit. Russian command had not considered the bridge a target because it was 12 kilometers behind the front line in an area where Ukrainian forces were not supposed to be able to reach. Ukrainian combat engineers, two specialists who had trained specifically for this type of demolition, dismounted and went to work. They placed shaped demolition charges on the bridge's two main support pillars, calculated charges designed to shatter the reinforced concrete columns and drop the bridge deck into the canal. The charges were set with 30-minute timers, long enough for the raiding force to clear the area before detonation. The engineers also placed anti-handling devices on the charges, secondary triggers that would detonate the explosives if Russian sappers attempted to remove or disarm them before the timers expired. And they seeded the approach roads on both sides of the bridge with anti-vehicle mines, 4 TM-62 mines buried in the mud at points where vehicles would naturally drive, ensuring that any Russian response force rushing to the bridge would encounter lethal obstacles before they could reach it. Total time at the bridge, 11 minutes. The Cossacks remounted and turned northwest, heading back toward the gap in the front line. The return. The three Cossacks retraced their route through the Russian rear area, driving at high speed on roads that were still deserted. The ambush, the assault, and the mining had all occurred within a 3-hour window, during which Russian Rear Area Command had received no alarm, no report, and no indication that anything unusual was happening. The first reports of the convoy ambush would not reach Russian headquarters until a follow-up convoy discovered the burning trucks at approximately Kazum. The first reports of the headquarters attack would not come until survivors made contact with adjacent units, and the bridge demolition charges would not detonate until approximately 01, by which time the Cossacks would be back through the gap. The return crossing of the marshy gap was more challenging than the outbound crossing. The vehicle's earlier passage had softened the subsurface layer, and the lead Cossack briefly bogged down before its driver accelerated through the soft patch and found firm ground. All three vehicles crossed successfully and reached Ukrainian-controlled territory at approximately 01:20. The bridge exploded at 01:02, the demolition charges shattering both support pillars and dropping the bridge deck into the canal. The anti-vehicle mines on the approach roads claimed their first victim approximately 40 minutes later. A Russian military police vehicle rushing toward the reported explosion, its driver unaware that the road had been seeded with mines. The vehicle was disabled, its crew wounded. Damage assessment: supply convoy, 4 Ural trucks destroyed with cargo of 152mm shells, mortar rounds, small arms ammunition, fuel and food. 8 Russian soldiers killed. Material value: $2.85 million in vehicles and cargo. Battalion headquarters: building destroyed, communications equipment demolished, 3 vehicles destroyed, operational documents captured. 8 to 12 Russian soldiers killed, 5 to 8 wounded, 5 captured including a major. Material and intelligence value: $3 or $5 million minimum, plus the incalculable intelligence value of captured documents, laptops, and prisoners who were subsequently interrogated by Ukrainian intelligence. Logistics bridge: bridge destroyed, approach roads mined. 1 Russian military police vehicle subsequently damaged by mines. Bridge reconstruction estimated at $1.53 million and 2 to 4 weeks of engineering work. During that period, all logistics for the sector must be rerouted through muddy, unpaved roads that add hours to every supply run and are themselves vulnerable to Ukrainian interdiction. Personnel losses total: approximately 18 to 22 Russian soldiers killed, 7 to 10 wounded, 5 captured, plus the military police casualties from the subsequent mine strike. Total estimated material losses: 7.313 million. Ukrainian losses: 0 killed, 0 wounded. Ammunition and explosives expended: approximately $15,000, $25,000. Fuel consumed, approximately $500. Wear on 3 Kozak vehicles, negligible. Return on investment, approximately 400 to 700 to 1. What this raid means: the psychological impact of this operation extends far beyond the material damage. Devastating as it was, the message that 3 Ukrainian armored cars delivered to every Russian soldier in the rear area is simple and terrifying. You are not safe. Not at your headquarters, not on your supply roads, not behind your bridges, not 12 kilometers behind the front line, not anywhere. Russian rear area security, already stretched thin by the demand for every available soldier at the front, now faces an impossible dilemma. Every road junction, every bridge, every headquarters, every supply route in the rear area is a potential target for Ukrainian raiding forces that can appear from the darkness, strike with devastating speed, and vanish before any response force can mobilize. Defending all of these targets simultaneously would require thousands of soldiers pulled from frontline duties. Soldiers that Russia cannot spare without weakening the positions that are already under constant Ukrainian pressure. The alternative, accepting the risk that Ukrainian raiders will periodically penetrate the rear area and destroy targets at will, is equally untenable, because every successful raid degrades the logistics infrastructure, kills experienced staff officers, destroys irreplaceable supplies, and spreads a paralyzing fear through rear area units that corrodes efficiency, morale, and the basic assumption of safety that allows military organizations to function. The Kozak-2M, a Ukrainian-made vehicle, built in Ukrainian factories, designed by Ukrainian engineers, proved itself perfectly suited to this type of operation. Its combination of speed, protection, cross-country mobility, and passenger capacity makes it an ideal raiding platform that can penetrate gaps in the front, transit through rear areas at high speed, deliver assault teams to their targets, provide fire support during attacks, and extract the team before the enemy can respond. Ukraine can build more Kozaks, it can train more raiding teams, and every time the front line develops a gap, every time Russian forces thin out, rotate, or neglect a section of their defenses, Ukrainian wolves will be waiting to slip through. Since February 2022, Russia has lost approximately 149,000 soldiers killed and wounded, over 11,600 tanks, nearly 24,000 armored vehicles, and now increasingly, the rear area infrastructure that supports what remains of Russia's fighting force, the headquarters that command, the convoys that supply, the bridges that connect, is being targeted by Ukrainian forces that have learned to hunt behind the lines as effectively as they defend on the front. The wolves hunt at night, the wolves leave no survivors, and the wolves always come home. Ukraine fights, Ukraine raids, Ukraine strikes where Russia least expects. This is Iron Front. The battlefield speaks louder than propaganda.